This video is a continuation from the previous video. So this is in St. Louis, Missouri. There is this building next to the Capitol, and when I took a photo of the reflection of that building, the window panes, it broke it up. It created this interesting impression of the actual building that I personally thought was more interesting than the original building. The original building was beautiful, but the reflection, because of the fact that it broke it up, just made it more interesting and turned out to be a good shot. Let's see what else I got here. Okay, here's something else I recently have tried working on that I think turns out pretty good. This is an image inside. Now you have to take these kinds of shots. Get this in the way here. There we go. This is a photo that I took looking inside a store where the lights were off on a sunny day around noon, where it reflected parts of what were in the. Sorry, my cat is crying for some reason. Where it reflects in the image, and so I made everything inside the store black and white, and everything outside the store color. So it was this contrast between the past and the present. And let me zoom in here so you can see this a little bit better. See what I'm talking about? The chandelier, the light is inside the building, and this is the window. And then outside you see the flag and the car and the street and the building. And then inside were all these antiques on the bottom. So just played around with that. Whoops. Oh, I apologize. Y'all please stop it. I'm trying to record a video. Reflection of sunsets in the water can be just really beautiful. It's a great way to capture reflections. The color of the sky and the water. It's just beautiful. That was a sunrise. I'm trying to remember where that was. It was camping somewhere. I think it was Missouri, maybe. That was Savannah, the last one I just closed. Let's close that one. Okay, so this is an underwater camera, and I had a bunch of gourds that I floated in the bathtub and shot underwater. The fish is not in the tub. He was added in later. And the water, the bottoms of the pumpkins and the gourds, you can see here, were reflected from underwater, reflected in the top of the water, right? So I could see it's like the exact inverse, the opposite of reflections on top of the water when you're above the water. In this case, it's the surface of the water. You see this as reflecting upward. And so I added in the fish, and the bubbles were part of the. I created those in the tub at the time that I took the photo. So this is underwater photography, and you can get a point and shoot. I think I'm trying to remember what I had. It was a little underwater point and shoot, and it created this really interesting reflected underwater image. There is a train museum in Georgia. They have a bunch of old trains where you can go and go inside the trains. And this was a bathroom, and it had multiple reflections going on. You have the walls were made out of metal, and I think they did that because they were easier to clean. So you have the reflection from outside light coming in and bouncing all around in here and completely lighting it up because there was no inside light. And then you also have the reflection from the mirror here, which you can see the police tape somewhere over on the other wall. And it just creates this really interesting story. And what's really cool is the tape is yellow, and the taxi outside is yellow, and the reflections are yellow, and it just really creates this very interesting crime scene from a very old train. Okay, here's another reflected image. This was right after the sunset. I lived in San Francisco for a few years, and this is a long exposure. You can't do this on a phone. You can do this with a DSLR, and it allowed me to capture this. This was on slide film back before. It was actually a SLR before digital, was really big, and just create this really beautiful reflection of just the colors of the sky in the water as foam was receding back low tide. Just create a really cool abstract image. This is a bridge in, I want to say South Carolina maybe. So reflections in the water, the bridge creates this reflection. Just really interesting how you get all kinds of interesting reflections on water. Here's another reflection of looking in a, whoops, all right, this one's I was gonna do downtown Atlanta last. Okay, here's another one. I took a photo looking inside a restaurant that was closed. Their lights were off, and it reflected the morning light from the town around it. And then I used Photoshop, and the only thing left was the blue vase, and you can see it's reflecting light all around it. It's pretty cool. This is the Okefenokee Swamp. You can't see the sky except in the reflection, and it's very, very bright blue. Okay, I'm going to minimize this. This is another interesting thing that I did. This is in Decatur. This is just a bird feeder that had no bird seed in it, or maybe it's even a bird bath. And it had some. I took this shot of it first, and I saw that this was, and I did this with my phone. I saw that it was reflecting things around it. So I held my hand over the reflection, and I got the sky in my hand in the reflection in the water. And if I had held my hand just a little bit higher, that actually might have been an interesting photograph. But it's not a great photograph on its own, but why I wanted to show it to you is because it gives you an idea of the fact that you can stage things out of the camera to capture reflections and make for a really more original or interesting image than if you had just taken a picture of whatever happened to be there. This was coming through the tunnel, the stairway up at Peachtree Center, MARTA, and it created this really interesting, these reflections of the people around that were on the escalator in the metal. And it just created this really interesting reflected image. Okay, these are pretty cool. Let's see. I have several of these. I tried different shots. This is a statue in downtown Atlanta, and it has all these really cool reflections around it because it's entirely made out of mirrored surface. And you can see it's reflecting. I'm in it a couple of times, but it's reflecting the city down the street and around it. And again, like we talked about with the other images, it helps give you a larger view of what is around you without being literal. You're capturing a reflection. It's more interesting and creative than just shooting the scene straight out. This is downtown Atlanta. And what's really beautiful here is the building reflecting the morning sky all around it. Made it kind of look like it was see-through. It's really beautiful. And then I did some where I was looking inside of buildings. And this one was pretty cool because the chandelier, this is blown out. I probably would have shot this differently if I had really been thinking about what I was doing. I was just kind of shooting stuff. This was my phone. I probably would have taken my DSLR and shot this differently so this wouldn't be blown out. But what's really cool here is you can use marbled floor, granite floor. This is marble, but you can use granite, marble, other materials to capture reflections. And this captured the reflection of the chandelier, which is pretty cool. There we go. There's another one I did that with. Chandelier inside the building. If you hold, I put my phone up against the window and tilted the bottom back, and so it showed inside the restaurant here and captured the reflection up here. So basically I took my phone, put it up against the window, and then tilted it back so the top of the phone was away and the bottom of the phone was still touching. And it allowed me to create this inside-outside image. I hadn't really worked with that before. I've seen some really great images, and there are some in the lecture PowerPoints that you can look at in Blackboard. And there's some really great shots that you can capture doing that. Here's another one where I did the same exact thing. You can see the outside building, you can see the chandelier, and then you can see the inside building. And it shows the inside of this restaurant and the city that it's in, and that would be a great photo. It needs some processing. It's just raw off my camera, but it would be a great photo for a magazine to advertise their restaurant. And then just some more really interesting reflections. This building is granite and glass, and so you can see the entire cloud reflecting on the building. And then this building is all glass, and you can see the building across the street from it. And it just really creates this really interesting three-dimensional feel in a two-dimensional image. I showed you guys that one. Here's another one with the floor, reflections in the floor. And I'm going to stop this video right here and continue in the next one.